Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Daily Racing Forum YouTube. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Ashley Mailloux. We got you ready for the Great Lady M preview this weekend. It's a short field, Ashley, over at Los Al, but some very, very talented fillies and mares lining up in this one. But it is 4th of July weekend, and we want to remind all of you about the 4th of July sale right now, where you can take 15% off everything when you use that coupon code July15 off. Save on all your favorite products, the past performances, handicapping products, everything you need to be successful when you're playing the races. 4th of July weekend coming up, Ashley. So over at Los Alamitos Racecourse, they're going to have some of the better fillies and mares in training right now. I mean, you've got Copian. She has this year buyer speed figures of 109 and 110. That she's run, which just unbelievable in the last two races back to back. Those are two of the 5 highest buyer speed figures run this year. I think only Ways and Means has actually run faster than her. She's even run faster than all the horses in the Triple Crown races and all the boys so far. So she has been fantastic. But Sweet Azteca is also a horse who's super capable. She's a grade 1 winner. Super Shine is multiple group stakes placed. One Magic Filly's a graded stakes winner. Even Kismosa is a grade 3 winner in here. So while Copian's the horse to beat, Ashley, she's going to have to make sure she's on her A game because there's some other talented horses in here.
There are. I mean, I think you said the main two, Copian and Sweet Azteca, looking at their grade 1 performances. I mean, pretty much said it all, Gino. There's not much to add to it. I think they are the two standouts, and I think Copian obviously has the edge with the performances under the belt this year, where we haven't seen Sweet Azteca since the fall of 2024, and the last time we saw her, it was not one of her best performances. It was actually her lowest buyer speed figure. So that's why all the respect in here is going to go to the outside filly.
Let's take a look at the pace projector. And as you were pointing out, Sweet Azteca won this race last year. And at that point, in like September of 2024, we're thinking that she could be the favorite in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. Then she just throws in a clunker in the Chillingworth. She just doesn't really fire that day. But her best races, Ashley, are when she's on the lead. She has speed. She wants to dictate things up front. I mean, she's capable of winning grade 1 races and beating horses like Adair Manor. So she's good on her best day, but it's always tough to read when horses are coming off such disappointing performances.
But she's good to know that, I should say, when you look back at her races, right? It's good to know that she can run off a layoff. She's been able to do this before. So it's not that rare. It's just that it happens to be a little bit longer. And her former stablemate, Barbara T, potentially could be pushing her throughout. It's going to be interesting to see how she's able to run. We've only seen her 3 times in her career, and we basically see her once a year, right? Once as a 2-year-old, once as a 3-year-old, and so far this year just once. But she's been beautifully managed and handled, and maybe she's had some minor setbacks. But Michael McCarthy had her ready to roll off a 364-day layoff, and it didn't look like she lost a step to me. So I think for these two fillies and mares, they have to be forward.
Let's meet the field. We'll start with Super Shine. This one came to the U.S. from Argentina back in April of 2024, so a little over a year ago. And she was multiple group stakes placed. She runs a really good second in the Santa Maria in her first start in the U.S., and you're kind of expecting big things from her, Ashley, and she's been a little disappointing since then. She was beaten double-digit lengths in 3 straight races. She does put it all together here in winning this race. This is the Desert Stormer, but it's really tough to take a lot out of it in a field of 3. And now she steps up and faces much, much tougher in this group. So she's one who about a year ago, I was really hoping for a little bit more. Just hasn't really seemed like she's progressed all that much.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were, right? They were expecting her to be better. And even 2 starts back, they expected her to win in that race at Del Mar, and she was well defeated by Show Card. So I'm not sure how to assess her. She's a little inconsistent. I think when you look at her losses, it's not like they're narrow. I'd have a better case. I mean, yes, the one was when she was defeated by a neck, but defeated by 14 3/4, 10, 12. And Sweet Azteca once was 12 lengths in front of her. So that's my concern. I think if you like her, you have to demand value in here. She cannot be a short price.
Sweet Azteca is a grade 1 winner, 3-time graded stakes winner, proven at Los Alamitos, who won this exact race last year. But she's a very tough read on a horse who's probably going to be a short price because she's coming into this race off that disappointing effort, and we don't see her all too often. She last raced in October. We haven't seen her again so far this year. She comes into a new barn. I think there were 1 or 2 spots that she was pointing towards earlier in the year. She got a little backed up. Plans have changed. I mean, she certainly has talent, Ashley. I'm not worried about her ability. It's just, is she the same horse that she was like middle of last year when she's throwing up 100 buyer speed figures?
Yeah, it's tough to say. I looked at her workouts. It looks like they restarted her in March, mid-March of 2025 at San Luis Rey. Then she had another gap of a month and then
Yep.
consistently was working every week. And then she had a little bit of a gap near Memorial Day and towards, early to mid-June where she wasn't working every 7 days. So not sure what's going on, but look at her work. She's always been a pretty fast workhorse, and she hasn't lost a step in the mornings. As I mentioned earlier, Gino, she can run off a layoff. That's, not a question. She can do it. It's just a little different. She has to face Kopian, who she's never faced before. So she's a major player in here. I'm not going to knock her. I know we saw that she's probably going to be projected to be part of that pace. If she lets Barbara T go, she's okay being in second early. I think she's going to make her move a little bit early, but a filly or a mare, I should say, that you have to respect in here.
Kismosa is actually a grade 3 winner. She's a very honest Calbred, but she does feel like a cut below the top few. If Kopian or if Sweet Azteca were to show up with one of their better efforts, I think Kismosa could pick up some pieces late. And if they go really fast early, she will come running. But I had a tough time making a strong case for her against these tougher fillies and mares.
Yeah, I think it's a tough spot for her. And, it's tough to look at her resume. You mentioned she is so consistent. I feel like they've tried to make her a turf horse several times. She can't win. And I'm hoping for her sake that they kind of keep her on the dirt. That's probably her better races, in my opinion, Gino, just looking at her record and what she's been able to do. But I just think she's in tough, right? Sweet Azteca has gotten the best of her. Super Shine as well. I will say, though, in 2024, at the beginning of the year, she was able to beat Sweet Azteca, but Sweet Azteca did not fire in that race. So maybe you use her underneath at best, but tough on top.
Barbara T is super talented, but the layoff lines are a bit of a concern. As you were pointing out, we saw her once in 2023, once in 2024, and so far once in 2025. Long layoffs after each of her races, but tons of ability. Here she is winning at Santa Anita on April the 25th, and this was after a year-long layoff. So she may not even have been at her best in here, but following this race, a couple months off, at least it's not a full year or 8-10 months like we've seen in those other couple. And I really feel like if she's able to string some races together, this filly has some ability. But Ashley, it's not the easiest spot in here. Michael McCarthy knows about Sweet Azteca, who he used to train, and also has to deal with the horse like Kopian to the outside. Even One Magic Filly has just run a lot faster races than Barbara T has.
The upside is you just don't know what you're getting, right? I mean, she has run well. I know she hasn't tackled stakes competition, but there is something to be said about the field sizes that she has faced. I think that's worth noting. You don't know the quality behind her, but she's been able to get to the front or near the front early, make a move, and just has been much the best in 2 of the 3. And look at the horse that beat her on the debut. She's gone on to do some okay things. So I have a lot of respect for the connections taking a shot here. I think the 6.5 is going to actually suit her really well. We also have to think about the configuration of Los Al. Just based on those last 2, I don't see any problem with stretching out and getting that long stretch at Los Al. So she's a horse that I think if you're looking for value out of the horses that we talked about so far, that might be the better prices. Super Shine, Chismosa. Barbara T at this point is the most, intriguing out of that group.
I think you're absolutely right. From a value-based standpoint, she has a ceiling maybe and some built-in upside that we don't really know is there because she's been so impressive in her last couple. We move to One Magic Filly. She's a grade 3 winner. She actually upset Sweet Azteca last year leading into the Breeders' Cup. Although that was a race you were kind of pointing out, Sweet Azteca just didn't really fire. It wasn't like they were battling down the stretch. It was just kind of something went wrong with Sweet Azteca that day. Then One Magic Filly was in the Breeders' Cup, was 10-1. She finished 6th that day. Wasn't a bad effort. She was actually favored in the La Brea over Kopian. It's funny to look back and think like at that point, One Magic Filly was the more proven filly, and Kopian was a little bit more of a wild card coming off a long layoff. But now in the last 6 months or so, things have really changed because Kopian has vaulted to the top of the filly and mare division, whereas One Magic Filly, she just made her first start back off a layoff. The effort was fine at Pimlico. She just is going to have to really improve to compete with Kopian, to compete with Sweet Azteca. Even a Barbara T is, heading in the right direction. And One Magic Filly probably needs a little bit more of a setup than some of these other fillies who could probably work out their own trips.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about the Skip Out last time out, I don't know how she went off at even money in that spot. I thought that was way too short of a price. The winner, Xylos, was I think around 3-1, Gino. I don't understand that. I mean, obviously she had been in grade 1 competition, but when you go back to the Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint, she was 6th. Xylos, I believe, was 7th. I know there were lengths separating them, but not a world of difference. And you kind of look at the races since then. I know she was in grade ones. I don't really love her effort last time out. Sure, she can take a big step forward, second off the freshening, getting back out west. I think there's all those things that go in, her favor. And if there's any sort of speed duel in here, she'll be rolling. If the 2 and the 4 hook up and they don't have anything left late, she's a player. I just don't know what price I would take on her, knowing that she's got Sweet Azteca in here and Copian to her outside.
Yeah, so we get to Copian, multiple grade one winner, top filly and mare sprinter. She's just really tough to knock Ashley with what she's been doing over the last 6 months. Mandela has handled her so well, and she just, she's versatile too. She's not like she needs the lead. She came from off the pace, and she beat a really tough field in that Derby City Distaff at Churchill.
Yeah, I think the key thing that you brought up is she does not need the lead. She's versatile. We saw that last time out. I think that's the big thing when you look at the trip that Hope Road got. Hope Road was close to the action throughout, and she was able to close a little bit further than she's typically had to do, right? On debut, she was able to close from off of it, but typically she's sitting towards the front, and she's the one to beat. Yeah, she's going to cut back a little bit in distance, but I mentioned it. Los Al, that long stretch, I think is going to help her, and I don't know how creative you can get in here, Gino, when you have a filly like her in this group.
I agree. I respect her so much. And you look at what the rest of the year and the plans are for horses like her. Well, she's in Southern California. The Breeders' Cup is at Del Mar. They don't need to travel anymore. They got a big win out of her, and they got that win where they were able to see, where does she stack up with the top horses in the division, right? Oh, she is at the top. Now we don't need to travel anymore. Let's stay here. We'll go to Los Alamitos. We can go down to Del Mar and maybe run once and prep before the Breeders' Cup. But I like the plan for her. And I can't try to beat her, Ashley, as we move to selections here. I wish I could. I know the folks that watch these videos see that you and I will always try to get some value if we can, but she's very, very talented. She's even drawn well to the outside, so it can give her some options in here. I go 6'2", 4'5". I respect Sweet Azteca, but you and I both kind of think Barbara T has some ability and wouldn't be surprised to see her run well in here.
No, I got to go for value. I mean, I know Sweet Azteca has the resume, but she has a layoff, a barn switch, little gaps in her workout tab. I'm not saying she can't win. I mean, I think Copian would not have to be on her A game for that to be the case. But, when I started looking at this group, you're trying to find someone intriguing, and I have to go with the filly that's lightly raced. Michael McCarthy, I really respect the work he does. And yeah, it's a tough spot maybe that you're going to try Graded Waters, but I wonder if this sort of track and this trip is going to work out for her. So she's going to be a better price than the other two, that's for sure.
Great Lady M is Saturday at Los Alamitos. It's going to go as race number 8, 6'2", 4'5" for me, 6'4", 2'5" for Ashley. Best of luck.